What is going on, guys? My name is Youngster JPAT and today I am bringing you a Pokemon X and Y Wi-Fi battle in the UUT, and today I am playing against a guy called Lautrec. I think that's how you pronounce your name. I sincerely apologise if I have pronounced that wrong. And as you can see, we are using Pokemon from the UU tier, the underused tier determined by Smogon's usage. And I've actually decided to go with a fairly new team. I haven't actually used these Pokemon in this combination before. A lot of them I've never even used before regardless, but I've decided to go with the physically defensive Donphan and the specially defensive Jellicent, making up the defensive core of my team, with the Mega Absol being kind of like my setup sweeper, my a Choice Specs Noivern, a Life Orb Shaman, as well as just a standard Lumberry lead Machamp. And I say it's a standard Lumberry lead Machamp because that is in fact exactly what I do decide to lead with, proven to be a fairly good counter to the two Pokemon that I can see set up Stealth Rocks, his Aerodactyl and his Mew. The potential two choice Scarfers, the Victini and the Hydreigon that could U-turn away. But, you know, for some reason he just doesn't fancy leading off with a good lead, and he decides to lead off with a Slowbro, which is in fact a fucking mint lead against my Machamp. And no, I'm not in a very good position with that. For the matchup, I decided to switch out into my specially defensive Jellicent. Actually take the Scald very nicely, of course, with that Water Absorb, but I missed the Toxic, which is actually kind of crucial in this match. It does kind of matter, but the Hacks evens out very early on, actually, as I do predict the switch into Lucario to take the Toxic very, very nicely, and as I do decide to go for the Scald. And as you can see, the Hacks does even out as I get the Scald burn on the switch in, which is going to be very, very nice considering this Lucario does turn out to be a physical variant, as he reveals the Crunch on the following turn. Don't normally see Crunch too often on the Lucario, but I guess it does kind of make sense, seeing as its fighting stabs are fairly good, so you know you want to hit them ghost types. But either way, I am actually going to be able to get the 2-hit KO off on this Lucario very early on in the match. Very, very nice. And I guess he kind of just decides to leave it in because a burnt Lucario is, you know, is weak as shit basically. He ain't going to be doing anything for the rest of the match. So he kills off the Lucario. I kill off the Lucario with my Jellicent. Very, very nicely, if I don't say so myself, as he decides to bring in his Hydreigon, and his Hydreigon actually goes for the Dracomir, and I know that I am specially defensive, so I can take that very, very nicely. As you can see, this is a Dracomir coming from Hydreigon, and it does, you know, it does a reasonable amount, but it doesn't do too much. And I actually go for the Toxic here, just to kind of, you know, try and get some residual damage. I think in the long run, I probably should have gone for the Recover on that turn. If not, I should have gone for it on this turn, as I actually predict the switch. I don't know what I predicted here actually. I literally just played this. He switches out into his Mew, and I think here I decide to switch out into, yeah, I switch out into my Donphan. I remember now. It all makes sense. It's all coming back to me. So I decide to bring in my Donphan for some fucking apparent reason. He brings in his Mew, and you know, I kind of predicted him to go for the Taunt on this turn, just because, you know, Mew can run like so many different sets. So I predict the Taunt and go for the Earthquake, which doesn't turn out very nicely for me at all. As you can see, that Earthquake did like next to nothing damage after the leftovers, and you know, not really too sure on what this guy wants to do. He kind of predicts a switch out here and goes for the Will-O-Wisp again, but I figured now's a good time to set up my Stealth Rocks, them late game rocks, only to find out the next turn that this Mew is actually carrying the Defog. So a very, very strange set on this Mew so far. The Will-O-Wisp, the Defog, and I think they're the only two moves we've seen so far. Yeah, just the Will-O-Wisp and the Defog. But either way, I decided to bring in my Jellicent. I figured Jellicent can kind of do whatever the fuck he wants against this Mew. I could even set up a Recover on this guy, or even smack that pink little dickhead in the face with a Shadow Ball, but apparently that isn't going to be the case, because this Mew, as well as carrying the Defog and the Will-O-Wisp, he actually carries the Knockoff as well, which, you know, is proven to be a very, very useful move. After getting the buff in the 6th generation, which is actually going to take out my Jellicent. So that definitely sucks, but I figure now's a good time to bring in the Absol. If he does go for the Will-O-Wisp, I can bounce that back onto his Mew, but of course, the one thing I completely forget about is that Mew carries Synchronize. So after getting the Mega Evolution off and bouncing back that Will-O-Wisp onto the Mew, as the Mew is then inflicted with the burn status, he's inflicted with the burned. That Synchronize ability is going to activate on the Mew, which does end up burning my Absol. So, you know, we're all switching statuses here, but either way, my Absol ends up burned, and that kind of sucks. But either way, that Night Slash is still doing a lot of damage against this Mew. I know that I could get a Sucker Punch off on this thing, I would be able to kill it. And I think he knows that as well. And he kind of decides that he wants to keep his Mew around for later, and I predict the switch very, very nicely, I think, as I go for the sword stance on the switch, which basically brings my my attack back up to neutral. And with a, I guess you could say +0 Mega Absol, that's a pretty fucking high attack stat if I don't say so myself. And knowing that this guy is going to want to try and kill me off as quickly as possible, I can go for the Sucker Punch, which is slightly more powerful, and it does a good 60-70% to that Mega Slowbro. Not yet. It does a good 60-70% to the Slowbro, as I actually lived the Scald, surprisingly. And of course, I know this guy isn't going to want to stay and try and attack me again, because he will get killed off by the Sucker Punch or the Night Slash. So he does decide to switch out, so I don't go for the Sucker Punch predicting that, but unfortunately I just go for the Night Slash. I was very, very close to clicking that superpower, and you know, that would have just been off the charts if I made that prediction, but unfortunately I didn't. Well, I guess the Night Slash damage is kind of okay, no, as opposed to the no damage that would have come off with the Sucker Punch, as I do end up dying to the burn at the end of that turn. So, figured now's a good time to bring in the forearms, the big man, the champ, and he knows that I can easily live off a Dracomir and kill him off with the Dynamic Punch, so he just simply U-turns away. I get a free Dynamic Punch off on whatever the fuck I want. He decides to bring in Mew, and thankfully I get a little bit of hacks in my favour, which is going to come with the confusion status on that thing. I don't know if it is actually 100% of the time. I think it's only 30. Leave a comment down below and correct me if I am wrong, or correct me if I'm right. You know, just kind of good to know anyway. So of course, you know, just in case he didn't break out of the confusion hacks, I do decide to go for the Bullet Punch just in case. You know, it might have somehow killed, but that isn't the case, and he does actually hit himself in confusion, and along with that, the Bullet Punch damage, and of course the burn recoil at the end of the turn, that is going to be enough to take down that pink little fucker. So thank fuck for that. You know, I'm pretty happy. I don't even care if I hacks him out of the game. Mews are just so goddamn annoying to play against, so I'm glad that thing's out of the way. But no, you know, I get rid of one Psychic Generation 100 stat base Pokemon, and he brings in the fuck another in the form of Victini, and Choice Banded V-Create does a shit ton to any Pokemon you bring in. Luckily, I do still have Donphan at a reasonable amount of HP that can take that, but even that, it still does 50% damage to me. But luckily, I did actually make the smart play in putting the Rocky Helmet on my Donphan beforehand, so I am actually getting a slight bit of recoil, and of course he is going to have to hit me off with another V-Create to finish me off as well. And it actually all kind of works out. After I just go for the Ice Shard just to get a tiny bit of damage. I think it probably was just like 3 HP I did to that thing, but you know, after the final V-Create, he's now at -2 speed, defense, and special defense, so I can basically bring anything in that I want now. And thinking about it, I probably should have saved my Absol for this point to bring him in and then set up a Sword Stance. That probably would have been the better idea, but instead, you know, that isn't the case. But I do get to get a free Choice Specs Modest Dracomir off on anything I want. He brings in Slowbro, which I'm guessing is his specially defensive Pokemon. And you know, it doesn't even matter, because Specs Modest Draco from a Noivern is going to do a hell of a lot of damage to any Pokemon. You can see it just straight up takes out that Slowbro. Doesn't even matter. And again, thinking about it, I could have gone for the Hurricane, and that would have put me in a better position now to try and take on this Hydreigon. But again, that wasn't the case, and I would have been relying on hitting the Hurricane as well for starters, which isn't all that reliable. So I think we're down now to 3 Pokemon each. And I figure that Shaman is the Pokemon I'm not going to need the most, but he actually gets a crit on me, which definitely mattered. It kind of changed the game, to be honest, because I would have been able to be a higher amount of HP, obviously, and maybe, you know, taking another hit from him, but he kind of knows that, and he knows that the Dazzling Gleam is coming. I was very, very close to clicking that Seed Flare as well, but unfortunately I didn't. I need to stop talking about the plays that I didn't make. You know, that's just kind of making me look even worse, but he is just going to go for the Mega Revolution, and that Mega Aerodactyl with that sky high attack is going to go for the Stone Edge. It is going to take me out, and it does hit as well. Would have been game changing again if he didn't hit that Stone Edge, but again, that's just something we're not going to be able to see. And I do decide to bring in my Machamp now, and he's actually going to go for the Aqua Tail. Not really sure why he went for the Aqua Tail. I guess, you know, being a fighting type Pokemon, I do resist the Stone Edge, but I would have thought he would have had a little bit of better coverage on that thing. But Either way, that dynamic punch is easily going to take out that thing. And in comes this Victini. And, you know, kind of hoping that he goes for the V-Crate to try and finish me off so I can outspeed with my Neuven on the following turn. That isn't actually going to be the case, as he goes for the Bolt Strike. He makes a smart play, and that is definitely going to take my match out from that amount of HP. And the game is basically looking like it's in his favour. Although if I do manage to live the Bolt Strike, which fucking surprisingly I do, I'm guessing this thing isn't banded for some reason, but then again it is unstab and neutral. I take the Fusion Bolt very, very nicely, do hit the following Draco Meter, which is going to kill him off, and now all basically comes down to his Hydreigon, which I should outspeed and basically win off the game if the Draco Meter does decide to kill. So all comes down to this, the last play of the battle, Dragon against Dragon, Hydreigon against Neuven, but it turns out his Hydreigon is actually Choice Scarfed and is carrying the Dragon Pulse, which is going to take me out. So there's a very, very narrow 1-0 victory in his favour. Very, very good battle if I don't say so myself. And yeah, so do be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed watching it. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to see more superb content from me on this channel. And question of the day, who is your favourite dragon type Pokemon from which generation? So of course, you know, there's the Dragonite, there's the Kingdra from Gen 2, Salamence from Gen 3, Gen 4 is the Garchomp, Gen 5 is the Hydreigon, and Gen 6 is of course Neuven. Leave your comments down below on who your favourite dragon type Pokemon is, and I guess I will see you all next time.